OpenClaw v2026.4.26 just shipped, and despite landing one day after v2026.4.25, it has a bigger user-facing surface than the version number suggests. The headline is a brand new top-level command, OpenClaw Migrate, that imports configurations from Claude Code, Claude Desktop, and Gnos Research's Hermes. Cerebras lands as a bundled provider plugin. Matrix end-to-end encryption gets a one-command setup. Memory embeddings get smarter with asymmetric query and document input types. And the control UI picks up a raw config diff panel, 365,000 stars on GitHub. Single-day release cadence. Let's walk through what is actually in this tag. Quick context. OpenClaw is the most starred software repository on GitHub, currently at 365,700 stars and adding roughly 500 per day. The release cadence has been daily on the main line for the last 3 weeks. v2026.4.26 published last night under Stipet, ships as DMG, zip, and DSYM bundles plus the standard NPM package. MIT license. TypeScript on Node, bun optional. The headline tag this week is Migration, moving people off other agent platforms onto OpenClaw without a hand rewrite. If you have not opened the OpenClaw releases page in a while, the cadence speaks for itself. v2026.4.25 yesterday, v2026.4.26 today. v2026.4.27 will probably exist before this video finishes uploading. The repo lives at github.com/openclaw/openclaw. And every release ships notes that read like a small changelog of their own. This one is roughly 65 changes plus 30 plus fixes. The pace is the project's whole personality, and v2026.4.26 is a normal-shaped tag with one unusually big new command in it. Most OpenClaw releases tighten existing surfaces. v2026.4.26 adds a new one. The unusually big change is OpenClaw Migrate, a top-level command that detects Claude Code installations, Claude Desktop configurations, and Gnos Research Hermes configs on disk, and imports their instructions, MCP servers, skills, command prompts, model providers, and credentials directly into your OpenClaw setup. That is the kind of feature that exists to remove friction for a very specific user. Somebody who already has Claude Code or Hermes working, has a stack of MCP servers and skills they have curated over months, and is evaluating OpenClaw as a parallel or replacement agent. The migrate command is OpenClaw saying out loud, bring your config with you. Do not rewrite anything. Do not lose your skills. Do not reauthor your MCP servers from scratch. The shortest version of why this matters. Every minute spent reauthoring config is a minute the project does not get to spend convincing you the rest of OpenClaw is worth your time. Here's what migrate actually does. You run OpenClaw migrate plan, and it scans for known config locations. ~/Claude for Claude Code, the Claude Desktop config in the OS-specific app data path, and any Hermes config under ~config/Hermes. For each detected source, it lists what it would import: instructions files, MCP server entries, skill definitions, command prompts, and model provider configurations. You can then run dry run with JSON output to wire it into a script, or apply with the backup flag to do the actual import. Pre-migration backup is on by default. Items it cannot map cleanly get archived for manual review, not silently dropped. Hermes specifically is contributed by Gnos Research in the same release. End-to-end the migration is 3 commands. Update OpenClaw to v2026.4.26 with npm install-g. Run OpenClaw migrate plan to see what it would import. Then OpenClaw migrate apply with the backup flag does the actual import. The plan output tells you exactly what got detected. In this example, a Claude Code instance with 3 instruction files, 5 MCP servers, 2 skills, and 12 command prompts. A Claude Desktop config with 2 MCP servers, and a Hermes config with 4 model providers. Apply imports those and writes a backup of your existing OpenClaw config so you can roll back if something looks wrong. Your full Claude Code stack, agents, skills, MCP servers, and /commands running inside OpenClaw in under a minute. Since Cerebras lands as a new bundled provider plugin in this release. Onboarding flow, static model catalog, docs, manifest-owned endpoint metadata. All of it, for anyone who has not run a Cerebras inference call lately. Their hardware does inference at speeds that make most other providers feel like they are running on dial-up. Tokens per second numbers that look like a rendering glitch the first time you see them. Bundling Cerebras as a first-class provider means you can flip an OpenClaw agent over to it with a single OpenClaw plugins install command and an API key. Same pattern as any other built-in provider. For low-latency agent loops, the kind where the agent is making dozens of small tool calls per turn, or where you are streaming tokens into a voice TTS and you really need the first token under 200 milliseconds. That latency difference is genuinely visible. It moves agents from feeling chatty into feeling reactive. 2 more wins worth flagging in this release. First, Matrix end-to-end encryption gets a one-command setup. OpenClaw Matrix encryption setup enables encryption, bootstraps recovery keys, uploads cross-signing keys, and prints the verification status. The entire flow that previously took multiple manual steps and an external client to verify cross-signing. If you run OpenClaw on Matrix, this is the kind of polish that turns a security checkbox from "we should do that" into "we did that. Here's the verified status." Second, memory embeddings get smarter in 2 specific ways. The OpenAI-compatible memory provider now supports asymmetric embedding endpoints, separate input types for queries versus documents, which actually matters because some embedding models perform meaningfully better when you tell them whether they are encoding a search query or a document being indexed. Allama specifically gets retrieval prefixes for nomic embed text, Qwen3 embedding, and MX by embed large, so memory search queries against those models stop returning weak results when running locally. Plus, Agents Compaction gets an opt-in pre-flight trigger that rotates a too large active transcript before compaction runs, so future turns land on a smaller successor file instead of a raw byte-split history. Small change, big quality of life win on long sessions. The single line from the release notes that captures this release best is the Migrate description itself. Read it in their own words. It tells you exactly everything about who this tag is aimed at and what they want you to do with it. V2026.4.26 is one of those releases where the version number undersells the change. The Migrate command is a clear pitch to Claude Code users. Bring your config, do not start over. Cerebras as a bundled provider is a latency upgrade. Matrix E2EE is a one-command setup that used to take 5. Memory embeddings finally do the right thing across asymmetric models. If you self-host, npm install -g and run OpenClaw Doctor with the fix flag. If you have been on Claude Code and are curious, OpenClaw Migrate Plan tells you exactly what would happen without committing. Links to the release notes and the repo are in the description.